What's going on, people? CP3, live from At the Bar Radio. Normally I'm live from the lab, but I got At the Bar Radio tonight at 6 o'clock, so make sure y'all tune in for that too. But today, we're here, weekly breakdown, week 4, Washington versus Baltimore. Washington 1-2, Baltimore 2-1. Both of them coming off a loss last week. Washington lost to Cleveland 34-20. Baltimore lost to Kansas City pretty bad. Lamar Jackson didn't look like himself at all. They made him one-dimensional, kept him in the pocket. I believe he had the lowest yard total of his career against Kansas City last week. And we got to look back at the game against Cleveland. We spoke about it last week in great detail that this game was on Dwayne Haskins. Those 3 interceptions and a fumble really took the momentum from the team and gave it to Baltimore, which scored on all 3 of those interceptions, scored a touchdown, which basically gave them momentum, gave them the game. Apparently, Ron Rivera met with Haskins this week, told him he needed to step his game up, he needed to play better, and there was a possibility this week that if he didn't play well, that he would get benched for Kyle Allen. Which last week, if he would have mentioned for Kyle Allen, I wouldn't have been upset after that 3rd interception. But yeah, I believe there's enough talent on this team that if your quarterback play isn't, I didn't want to see him in this position, especially week 4. I could see it, down the road later. But his play has affected the team because the team has played well for the most part. It's I spoke about it a little bit last week about him not having the confidence in his accuracy and leading the receivers. If you go back to 2 weeks ago against Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, you saw Murray had the confidence to throw that ball in those tight windows and lead his receiver to the ball into those zones. I don't see that from Haskins. I don't think he has enough confidence in the wide receivers, in himself, and in knowing the playbook right now to throw into those windows because we've seen in the last 3 weeks that he's missed some open targets. He's put the ball in some questionable situations when he's had a double or triple coverage and he has a man open in the flat and he chooses to go to the man that's in coverage. And I say he had got lucky for the most part for the first 2 weeks of the season that there weren't interceptions, there weren't turnovers, but we saw last week it came back to bite him in the ass with the 3 interceptions he had last week against Cleveland. The running game started getting going a little bit. Antonio Gibson is starting to look, like he's getting his legs up under him, being a rookie coming into the NFL with no preseason, being a wide receiver, converting to running back. That's also another transition he's having to make. But it looks like he's starting to gain get his confidence and get his feet under him. So I'm hoping for another decent game out of him. The team just has to play better, and the quarterback play leads into that a lot because the defense has been playing well, but you can't keep on putting them in bad situations on short fields when you're turning the ball over. No defense is going to be able to hold up to that, and we saw that last week. Even though the defense still played decent, but giving up those turnovers, once you had the momentum and were able to take the lead, that's just a no-no. You just don't do that. But let's go ahead and get into the numbers for this week. The matchup between Baltimore and the Washington football team. As I mentioned, Baltimore's 2-1, Washington's 1-2. I'll go ahead and go through the inactives first. I just got that hot off the wire. I'll go into inactives before I go into the numbers. Inactive this week: Alex Smith, Steven Sims Jr., Danny Johnson, Cole Holcomb, Sadiq Charles, and yes, Chase Young will be inactive today. They're a groin injury. They're going to take his time. You don't want to rush him out there because the legs are so important for a defensive end. Getting off the ball and making sure he's 100%, especially with a groin muscle pull. You definitely don't want to mess with that. You want to make sure you're 100% because if you go out there, you're not 100 and you pull it again, that's a longer rehab and you can do more damage, and then you go from just a pull to a tear, and then it's a whole nother ball game right there. So they're going to take it, precautiously. They're deep on the defensive line, so unfortunately, we won't see Chase Young out there today. But for the numbers, Washington offensively, as we talked about, is struggling. Total yards 289, that's 30th in the league. Passing yards 167, which is 29th in the league. Rushing yards 100 yards a game, which is 25th. 21, just about 21 points a game, which is 26th. And third down conversions 34.1%, 31st in the league. Baltimore, on the other hand, offensively, total yards 338, which is 23rd. Passing yards 149, which is last. I mentioned Lamar Jackson only had 97 yards last week against Kansas City. That affected them, so they're actually lower than the Washington football team in the passing yards. Washington's 29th, they're 32nd. Rushing yards 166, which is 5th. That's going to go into my keys of victory when I break down this matchup. Got to keep Lamar Jackson one-dimensional, and I get into that a little bit deeper in my breakdown and keys to victory. And on offensively, on third down conversions, they're 41.2%, which is 19th in the league. Defensively, Washington giving up 334 yards a game, which is 6th. 181 passing yards, which is tied for 3rd. 125 rush yards, which is 22nd. They gave up the two-headed monster Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb last week. Yeah, they wore them down late in the game when all the turnovers, as I mentioned, it all feeds into one. Rushing, they were only giving up 80 yards a game before last week, and now they're all the way up to 125 because, turnovers led to them running the clock out, 2 quality running backs, and they just wore the defense out. We've seen it before, so it's not like it's nothing new. We just wasn't expecting to see it with this defense. 27 points a game given up, which is tied for 18th, and they're doing surprisingly well on third down conversions. They're 37.8, which is tied for 8th. Baltimore gives up 375 yards a game, which is 20th. Give up 254 yards passing, which is 26th. Give up 107 yards, rushing, which is 9th. They only give up 18.7 points a game, which is 3rd in the league. And their third down conversion, has a little work to do there at 47.1, which is 23rd in the league. So if the Washington football team, gets in third down position, hopefully they can, have some success, because we've seen over the course of the season that they've been in a lot of third downs and they haven't been as successful as they need to be at 34%. So hopefully with a lesser third down conversion team on defense when they're in those situations. And play calling goes into that also, which goes into some of my breakdown of this game. I'm going to go ahead and start on the Baltimore side of it with Lamar Jackson. Got to keep him in the pocket. We saw last week he got loose early, and Kansas City made sure that they were going to make him one-dimensional, keeping him in the pocket. They had a spy on him, which is a linebacker or a safety that just sits right there at the line watching whatever moves he makes. And if he breaks out the pocket, his job is to keep him contained, tackle, go get him down as soon as possible. Now, Baltimore's going to have a chip on their shoulder after their performance last week. So Washington's going to have to definitely be gap disciplined, sound on defense, responsible for their assignments, and trust what they've learned. Your eyes can fool you, but go over your keys, remember the game plan, and stick to it. Because Baltimore's a quality team, and they definitely want to get that that loss, that nasty taste out their mouth. Baltimore has an opportunistic defense. They aren't exactly ranked high, but when they get a lead, they make things happen. They can wreak havoc, get pressure on the quarterback, force turnovers, because when you're behind, teams get to throw the ball, trying to catch up. First turnovers, interceptions, fumbles by the quarterback because of the pressure they're getting. So it's going to be very important for this team to stay ahead of the chains and not get into constant passing situations, because that plays right into Baltimore's hands on defense. And containing Baltimore's running game. They have a very potent running game, especially when Lamar Jackson is going well. They have the option, the zone read. He just, drop back, nothing's open, and, it'll be a gap. he'll take it. He's gone, and he's elusive. He can make guys miss, and he can take it to the house from anywhere on the field. So that's why it's going to be very important and very key for the defense to stay on point and make sure they're responsible for their assignments. Because if you move in the wrong gap or hit the wrong lane, he's going to take advantage of it. And you want to make him one-dimensional, keep him in the pocket, and have a nice solid pocket around him and get pushed up the middle, which we've seen this team do. Unfortunately, like we mentioned, Chase Young wouldn't be there, but his next man up, and hopefully they can get enough pressure and contain him and keep him in the pocket and get a lead, because Baltimore isn't built to come from behind. They're not they play well, they play great when they have the lead, because that's when they can implement all of those other different things with the zone read, Lamar running, trick plays, all the stuff that they do. We know about Harbaugh. He's a wide-open coach. Nothing wrong with that, because you want to out-coach the other guy. That's your job. And if he's doing it by trick plays or whatever works, baby, whatever works. Now for the Washington football team, as I was mentioning with the play caller, they have to cater to Haskins' strengths a little bit more. Last year, what we saw when Dak Prescott was getting off to the hot start with his new offensive coordinator at the beginning of the season, because he was catering the playbook to Dak's strengths, and it was just like pitch and catch, like he was back playing high school ball. And then they started switching things up and trying to get more fancy and more, thinking too much instead of doing what works, which we've seen here for over the past 6 seasons under the ex-coach Jay Gruden. And then things stopped working. When Haskins is on a run, on the rollout, bootleg, he's a lot more effective. For one, it's a misdirection play because the line is going one way and he goes the other way. That's why it's called a naked bootleg, because he's out there basically naked by himself. But that gives him a chance to scan the defense, read the defense, and the defense pretty much exposes themselves because you have the line going one way and you have the quarterback going the other, so everyone is going to go exactly to their assignment. So that makes him read the defense a little bit quicker because of all the confusion. The defense is going to be locked in on their player quicker, so everything disperses, so there is less trickery for his eyes to see to fool him. So when you can do that, things like that, roll the pocket, the screen game, you have game breakers out there that can make folks miss. If the running game isn't working, you always have the screen game. Short passes and short runs are the same thing. And that's the only other thing that I've seen with Scott Turner is he's been leaning more toward the pass instead of trying to keep a steady dose of run game, at least so you can open a play action game up. I mentioned, and after week one and 2, that 3rd and 2 lining up in shotgun, sometimes you just got to line up in the I formation and run the ball. You use 2 running backs formations all the time. You can get Terry on the outside, go in a heavy package, one-on-one outside coverage and max protect. We saw Cleveland do that to the defense last week. Incorporate some of that stuff into the play calls. It's not always about trying to trick the other team or outthink the other team. Sometimes you got to out-physical the other team. So they got to cater the playbook to Haskins a little bit more consistently. We saw in week 2 that nice flow they had in the first half when they actually got points. They were catering to Haskins, up-tempo, moving the pocket, short passes, get the ball out quick, and they had success. Which goes into, as I was saying, stick with the running game, which helps the passing game open up the play-action pass. And I've noticed when the rush is coming and Haskins sees something open, I believe Ron Rivera spoke on this a couple of weeks ago, Haskins sometimes get happy feet, and that's when his mechanics fail him, and that's when the ball sails because he doesn't set his feet. He doesn't, go through his mechanics. It's all about muscle memory and doing it exactly the same way every time. That's what the best quarterbacks do. They practice their technique, their mechanics. It's not about throwing the ball as hard as you can and, to the wide receiver trying to fit it into a window. It's all about the mechanics and the technique also, which makes you an accurate quarterback and makes you a good quarterback. We see with Breeze and Brady late in their career, they don't have that same zip on the ball that they did when they were younger, but they're still getting the numbers because they're still accurate excuse me, because they're using their technique, they're using their mechanics every time, they're consistent with it. That's what he has to work on and get more consistent with. But these are things that's all teachable and all workable. Just have to do it. So hopefully that's what they're working on in practice. Defense, got to contain the pocket, got to stay gap disciplined. You got to take care of your responsibility. Don't start taking chances. We saw last week a couple of times, I believe, with Ryan Anderson when he, had a clean shot if he'd have stayed in his lane, but he decided to crash down on the running back instead of staying disciplined and going to his assignment, which was the quarterback. Quarterback shook past him, made a nice throw, third down completion, first down change move. So the defense has to stay disciplined in what they're doing in their assignments, because Baltimore they might not have big names on offense at the wide receiver spot, just like Washington doesn't, but they're opportunistic and they feast off of other teams' mistakes, especially when you throw Lamar Jackson's running in the mix. That's why they have to keep him in the pocket today. If he starts running around all crazy, this game is going to get out of hand quickly, because that just adds too much of another issue for the defense to try to account for him if they're not spying him. Even if they are spying him, he can make you miss. Linebacker, safety, corner, he has that juke button, but he will leave you sitting on the turf. So, got to stay gap disciplined. You got to stay on top of that. Let me see. See if we got any questions on here before I get into my keys to victory, because it's about 12:30. I came on a little bit earlier today because not sure if I'll be on tomorrow night for the breakdown, so I wanted to give a little bit more in-depth pregame and postgame today. What's up, Mark? Appreciate you tuning in. McLaurin is playing. He has a bruised thigh, but he's not on the inactive list, so he's ready to rock and roll. But it's still going to be key for the secondary receivers to get involved in the game and make some plays happen, because with him being injured and most teams double teaming him, he hasn't been able to wreak the havoc that we know he can. So that's definitely going to be key. You got to excuse me, I just answer a couple of things on there. All right, keys to victory. And I'm about to get up out of here, season this food, because grilling, chilling, podcasting, and sipping is what we do on Sundays. Unfortunately, this is probably going to be the last one that I'm going to be grilling and chilling, but we still going to be podcasting. Just a quick side note, if anybody's looking for a new vehicle, I just started working at Honda Waldorf. Come holler at your boy, CP3. Be down there tomorrow at 11 a.m. Inbox me. Get you the best deal available in the vehicle you're looking for, car, truck, van, SUV. Holler at your boy, but that's why I won't be probably grilling and chilling on Sundays, because I'll be working on some Sundays. So I'm going to still be podcasting at the bar radio. I'm going to still try to do the pregame and postgame. It's going to be a little bit harder, but we're going to figure it out. Stay tuned. I'll keep you posted. And keys to victory. Number one, balance on offense. Last week, I believe Haskins threw the ball. I didn't even go into their stats, but I can always wrap up with that. I believe Haskins threw the ball 37 times last week. That's not the recipe for victory with this team. As long as he throws the ball between 20 and 25 times, and they run the ball between 25 and 30 times, that's the recipe for this team to win. Not, him throwing the ball 37 times, because that means you're behind. And with the offensive line in flux, Brandon Sheriff still out. I believe Morgan Moses has an ankle, I believe. He's active, but he's dinged up. Still got the rookies and the second-year play, with the two second-year players on the left-hand side with Christian and Wes Martin. So, the offensive line has got their work cut out for them with this Baltimore defensive front. So they're going to have balance. They're going to have to stick with the run. You're not going to get the 5, 6, 7-yard gains in the first quarter. They're going to be 2 and 3 yards unless, Gibson can make something happen, McCliskey can make something happen. But it's a grind. You got to wear that defense down by abandoning the run and letting them just pin their ears back and pass rush. You're playing right into their hands. So you got to have balance. And like I said, it opens up the play action pass game. When the running game starts working, they have to bring that man down, that extra man down in the box to try to contain it. And that gives your wide receivers a better chance to win, which, as I said, the secondary receivers have to step up this week. Number 2, Haskins has to improve his play. Excuse me. He has to play better this week. Definitely can't have 3 interceptions and a fumble. We need a 3-touchdown performance from this quarterback today with a completion percentage in the low to mid 60s with minimal mistakes, up tempo, reading the defense, footwork sound, mechanics sound, technique sound. Can't afford balls sailing high today. Baltimore loves turnovers. They love tip balls. That came out wrong, but you know what I mean. Like I say, the secondary receivers, key 3, have to step up. That includes tight ends. That includes running backs. Because once somebody starts get going, they have to switch up their defense to try to account for that. And then that's going to take the loosen coverage on somebody else, who then they'll have an opportunity to make a play if they can get the ball to them. And then if they make a play, then they're going to look at it again like, oh, we can't afford to let him beat us, so we got to switch up and do something else. That's the way your offense works. Excuse me. That's the way it's effective. So hopefully they incorporate that into what they're going to do, which will help the secondary receivers be able to get a chance to make plays. Isaiah Wright, we saw him get the ball some last week. He's active. To me, he reminds me of Tyreek Hill. If you can get him in space with the ball, he can make folks mix and take it to the house. Let him get the jet sweep. You know, we used to hate it when Jay called it because we didn't have that speed and that game-breaking player to do that. Now we do with Gibson and Wright and McLaurin. Now let's start running those plays now because, you know, good things can happen. You get them guys in space with the ball. It's a whole different ball game. Put the pressure on the defense. Another key to victory. Defense has to cause turnovers. They have to give the offense a short field. That's no ifs, ands, or buts. They have to get at least 2 turnovers this game. Interception, fumble, sack, fumble. Even score if they can. Trust me. With the Baltimore only giving up 18 points a game, they're going to need help getting points this game if they don't follow some of the keys of victory that I put down. Because if you go back and look at all my keys of victory every week before the game, they've been pretty accurate. I'm just saying. But yeah, the defense is definitely going to have to play like it did in the second half of week 1. Getting pressure, getting to the quarterback, causing confusion, getting turnovers. You're going to need all of that this week. All of that, plus more. Number 5, get a lead. As I said, Baltimore isn't really built to come back. I believe I saw a stat. Lamar Jackson is 20-0 when leading at halftime and 0-6 when trailing at halftime. So, hey, it is what it is. Stats don't lie. We saw the team get points first last week. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out the way we would have hoped with them getting points in the first half and first to actually having a lead. But hopefully this team can, you know, get things moving in the right direction. We'll see some more progress this week. I know when folks saw Ron Rivera left one practice after he had chemo. You know, prayers to him. He's toughing it through. But you got Jack Del Rio, another ex-head coach, quality defensive coordinator that, you know, is on the same page and can take over if need be. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, but it's good to have that backup. That's why I say you got to have some comfort with the structure this team has now, that you have actual football people in place to do football things and know what they're doing. I mean, last regime, we spoke about how Jay was. He didn't like people that knew more than him on his staff, and we've seen a tree of folks that's departed here that's going to be head coaches, and quality head coaches after they left here because Jay didn't want them here. But Rivera isn't that way, so you see what happens when you have quality people around you. When stuff comes up and you need someone to step up and take that role, you got somebody quality to do it. That's why you have good people around you, not because you're scared of losing your job or scared they might take your job or looking over your shoulder. If you're not quality, you're not doing your job. That's just facts. It just is what it is. And number 6, most important. Normally I only do 5, but I mentioned it before. I'm gonna mention it again and again. Got to keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket. Point blank. That's going to be the determining factor in this game. If they can keep him one-dimensional and not killing it on the running out of the pocket, that's going to make this game winnable for this team. If they can't keep him in the pocket, there's no way they're going to win this game because he puts too much pressure on your defense. He adds a whole nother dimension to what you got to worry about. And then if you do spy him and he still gets loose, then it just makes your whole defense look foolish because now you're basically playing man on man because you're having to account for the quarterback. And that's going to put your players in a precarious position, double moves, stop and go routes, because you have no backup, you have no safety help for real, because the safety 9 out of 10 is having to cover someone also because you're spying the quarterback. So the key to this game is going to be in the trenches and containing Lamar Jackson. If they can do that, this is a winnable game for this team. But if they can't, it's going to be a long, long day. And let me see. Any more questions before I get out of here? Questions or comments? Go to my feed. Appreciate y'all checking me out. I know y'all could be watching the other folks. Let's see. Mark Moore, Sims, not Cam Sims. Steven Sims Jr. is inactive. Definitely got to get the tight ends more involved in the game. Let our backs chip and turn for a pass. Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to use the short passing game if the running game isn't working. Baltimore gives up a little over 100 yards rushing on defensively, so they're vulnerable to the run. They just got to stick with it. And, the offensive line got to get some holes open also. They're going to run, and it's just going to work like that. So it all has to work together, and hopefully they had a good week of practice. I haven't been able to check it out for real, how practice was this week. I've been busy, but hopefully they had a good week of practice. So they got to move the chains to keep our defense off the field. Can't be going 3 and out every series. Agreed, Mark. And will they spy him today? They're definitely going to spy him some. I know they're not going to. They have to. I'm not sure how much they're going to. Last week, after he started getting loose against Kansas City, I believe they spied him almost like 75-80% of the time and keep him in the pocket and made him one-dimensional. And the defense stepped up and didn't let him get going passing. And that's where they were able to win the game. So hopefully the Washington team will have some of those same thoughts in their mind to keep him one-dimensional and keep him in the pocket, not wreaking havoc on the ground. Because, as I said, if they do that, it's going to be a hard day for the Washington football team. But I'm about to get out of here. Got about 15 minutes till kickoff. I'm about to get my live stream going, get this grill going. And stay tuned for so much more. I'll be doing a pregame after the game. Not sure if Big Hurt going to be coming on again. If not, I'll be streaming live, breaking it down, win, lose, or draw. If Big Hurt comes through, we'll have another great Facebook live session that I'll be streaming. And I'll put up on the other feeds. And then hell to the Washington football team. Hopefully they can pull this victory out and we get back to an even record of 2-2 and stay in first place in the NFC East. Enjoy this beautiful Sunday. Happy football. And I'll holler at you after the game. CP3, live from At the Bar Radio, Sports OTHP Apparel, Eric Kusa, main man inside. Y'all be safe, and holler at you later. I'm out.